While technically not even canon to the Red Dead Redemption story, Red Dead Revolver paved the way for what would eventually come. The game worked almost like a proof of concept for the core gameplay ideas that would eventually be implemented by Red Dead Redemption. So what is this experience like 19 years later? Welcome to completion number 34 of the Potato Backlog project. For more information on the backlog, see the links below. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video for the rootin' tootin' gunslinging bounty hunted wanted dead or alive Bon Jovi style taterator, and let's go. The development of Revolver was a bit of a rocky one. It actually started life under the Capcom umbrella in the year 2000. The studio working on it and the rights eventually landed with Take-Two, and the game was finished and released under the Rockstar banner in 2004. Red Dead Revolver is a story of revenge. It centers around Red Harlow, who as a teenager witnessed the murder of his parents during a raid on their ranch. The game starts you off as young Red right before the raid goes down, and you end up blowing a dude's arm off just to escape within an inch of your life. We pick up the story 12 years later, where Red's become a bounty hunter to aid in his real quest of revenge, hunting down the now one-armed man that killed his family. The story's simple at its core, but plays out in a pretty good way. Through your bounty hunting, you learn the true story behind the reasons your parents were killed. We get introduced to a lot of allies and enemies throughout the adventure, some of which are actually even playable during the missions. This game isn't an open world style adventure like Red Dead Redemption. It's split into 27 different missions, with visits to a town called Brimstone at different times in between to further the storyline ahead. When you do visit Brimstone, you're able to walk around and talk to the different NPCs. You can visit the store, the bank, and even talk to the paperboy to hear the latest goings on. Each of your visits there are a little bit different, with different things available to purchase, new upgrades available to find, and the NPCs will even have different lines of dialogue depending on where you're at in the story. It's kind of like a resting point between the action, but you can see the idea was to have some sort of living, breathing Old West town, to make it feel like things were changing as you were progressing throughout the story. The missions themselves all kind of followed the same structure. You work your way through an area, killing all the bad guys until you get to the end of that area and kill the boss of that area. There are some slight deviations later in the game where you have to find keys to doors, protect certain people in fights, and they also attempt to introduce stealth concepts in some of the levels. There are levels with trains, stagecoaches. You even get the opportunity to ride a horse yourself while you battle bad guys. And just as a little bit of a side note, Red Harlow's horse controls and operates much better than Roach, the beloved horse from the hit game The Witcher 3. With the missions feeling like self-contained levels, you really see where they concentrated on certain core ideas within certain missions. Lots of these ideas would later be fleshed out and built upon for the Red Dead Redemption series. When you complete a mission, you're given a rating based on your performance within the level, and you unlock different things based upon that rating. Anything from health upgrades to characters for multiplayer mode. There are a couple of systems at play in regards to the fighting in Red Dead Revolver. You have a duck and cover style option where you can peek out and shoot. You can also bypass this completely and run around like a madman, shooting and avoiding bullets as you go. I ended up shying away from the cover method pretty early in the game due to the hit detection issues within the game. There were times I would get shot through what should have been solid objects, and other times that my bullets would find their marks visually, but it just wouldn't register any damage. The bad guys wouldn't even flinch, and I'm not talking about the bosses. The issues weren't entirely game breaking, but it was enough to where I just didn't even see the point of taking cover. It wasn't offering me any advantage or making anything easier for me. The Deadeye mechanic that's present in the Redemption games gets its start here, and it works pretty much the same. When you have the meter built up, you can slow down time and target multiple bad guys in multiple spots for high efficiency kills. It's also great to just slow things down at times to help get yourself out of a jam. It's a fun mechanic that the developers tried to push even further with the game's dueling mode. Dueling mode attempts to create the feeling of an Old West high noon style gun shootout. You use control sticks to ready your hand on your gun, draw it, and try to aim as quickly and precisely as you can, while a reticule automatically cycles through the accuracy of your shots will take. It's an interesting mode and idea, but one that I probably could have done without. The refinement just isn't there to make it all that fun. If you fail, you die and you just try again, so it didn't seem like there was any real pressure to win, no real consequence, and there was no real reward for doing well. It felt like more of a visual thing and a way to try to capture some of that Old West feeling. So while it didn't hurt the game, I don't really feel like it added much fun to it either. Weapons in the game are unlocked through vendors and different shops you'll find, and at the beginning of each mission you have the option to pick your loadout for that level. There are upgrades available to purchase for the weapons, and you'll also have to repair your weapons at times as their effectiveness degrades the more you use them. You also have the ability to pick up weapons of the enemies you kill within the levels themselves. This comes in handy during a couple levels where you start out with just a knife. The weapon throwing mechanics for the knives and the dynamite felt a bit stiff and strange. I blew myself up a few times, and while funny, it was pretty frustrating. The dynamite should have worked as a good crowd control option, but ended up just being a giant risk depending on when it would release and where it would go. But for the most part, the gunplay is fun. Switching between weapons on the fly is fast and easy. Reloading feels intuitive and fair. You hold down a button to ready your weapon, and you pull the trigger to shoot. Aiming feels good and tight, but as mentioned before, there are some hit detection issues that leave a little bit to be desired. There are also some basic melee fighting options: punch, kick, grab. The game also has a saloon fight sequence where you will become very frustrated with these fighting options and never want to use them again. The melee fighting options felt like the least developed part of the game for me. But again, this feels like a game that was trying and testing a bunch of different systems to see what was gonna work, like a proof of concept for a bigger idea. If I had played this on release without the knowledge of Red Dead Redemption, I think I definitely would have enjoyed the mission-focused gameplay, the Wild West story, the characters, and the different innovations that they were trying to bring to the table at the time. Playing it now, it was still pretty cool to see where lots of these ideas originated and how they were first implemented at their first run at a Western type of game. I only tested a bit of the multiplayer mode as the online functionality isn't available anymore. The multiplayer stuff has advanced so much in the last 19 years, it's really hard to hold any weight to what's happening here. I do give it points for a ton of unlockables within the mode and a couch co-op option for up to 4 players that also offers the ability to set bots to fight. 2 happy potato faces out of 5. I really enjoyed playing this game. It was fun to play through with the knowledge of what everything would become with the Redemption series. If it wasn't for the hit detection issues and some of the control issues, this would be a pretty easy 3 for me on the Taterator scale. But I wouldn't actively go searching this game out to play it unless you're like a die-hard Red Dead fan. This isn't a must-play, and the story's not even considered canon. There are a lot of crazy theories out there on how Red Harlow fits into the Redemption story, but nothing that's been confirmed as canon by Rockstar as far as I know. So with that, the Backlog project rolls on. Thank you for watching. Be kind to yourselves and others that deserve it. We're on to the next one. That was all. Horse riding, roach killing. This game's the roach killer. If you want to play a game with good horse riding, play this, not The Witcher. Bad guys in multiple spots for high efficiency kills. Yeehaw.